Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Thank you, everybody in person who came and everybody online as well. We're going to have fun today because why not, right? So Global Accessibility Awareness Day is an international day celebrated like everywhere that started I'm not going to say when because I don't know, but a number of years ago as a way to raise awareness about accessibility. Yeah, and so it's a day to not just think about like what we can do and improve, but like also understand a bit more about accessibility, what it is, why we do it, how we can do it, all that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, so it's the third Thursday of May every year. So that's today. So yeah, so we thought we'll do a treasure hunt because why not? We wanted ways to celebrate accessibility, to highlight where accessibility does exist in the world and online. And instead of kind of focusing on the negative, I guess, as accessibility advocates, there's a lot of accessibility improvements that need to be made all the time, every day. But so we thought, let's not focus so much on that. Let's focus on where the successes are. Yeah, so it'll be a fun interactive one. So there is Wi-Fi for the people in the room. It's on screen and it'll be on all of the slides and it's in the corner over there. So don't worry about it. It's just because we're going to be doing digital stuff online. So you'll need the Wi-Fi. So there is a site. Oh, actually, I'll explain how it works and then I'll explain the quest. So how it's going to work. It's a treasure hunt. So just like a treasure hunt, there are challenges and things that you need to go look for. And then you're going to go look for those things. And because we're like a group of people, both in person and online, we'll all kind of like submit our entries of like what we think the best entry is for this challenge. We'll explore a few of those and then we'll kind of pick a winner, I guess. And then that winner gets a treasure of their own as well. Yeah, so we have treasures for online folks as well. We were thinking of doing it in groups. Yeah, so we'll just kind of see whether we're doing it in groups or individually. Groups is kind of fun because then we get to interact together. So yeah, so we have a few challenges that we set up, and that's what we're going to do today. All right, so the first side quest, so this kind of like additional quest, just as something to exist in the background that we'll follow up with at the end, is we're going to be looking for a home page with the best overall alt text. So on the whole homepage itself, all of the alt text on that page is great. So whether the images are interactive, decorative, informative, whatever, they have the alt text that's appropriate for that. Okay. So just as you're going about like finding like solutions to the other challenges, keep this one at the back of your mind and you can get a treasure for this one as well. Okay. Are we ready to go treasure hunting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then so for the people online, or so that they can hear, so I'm holding onto this mic. There's also another mic so that when we're doing like when we're all talking, just like talking to the mic so that people online can hear. And Prey is managing the online stuff, so you're participating as well, and just like speak up or type in, and Prey can speak on your behalf. Okay. Let's get on to it. Challenge number one. It's what's our heading, Captain? So we are going to be looking for a homepage again, this time with the best heading structure. So the key here is we just want to make sure that it's not a heading structure that's like really simple, like 1 or 2 levels. We want there to at least be 3 levels. So that's our one criteria. And yeah, homepage. If you find it's not a homepage and it's another page, that's fine, but we're going to try to focus on homepages. So the time is, my watch is not accurate. It's 25 past. So we'll give it like 5 minutes or so. And if people can't find something, then we'll give it some more time. But we also recognize that it's lunch hour. So yeah. So it's 11:25 now. We'll go, sorry, 12:25 now. We'll go till 12:30. So if people want to break into groups in the room, like Julian doesn't have laptops. If somebody wants to pair up with Julian, yeah, actually, and then like you 3 can work together. It might be more fun to work together than independently. Yeah, and then online, like Prey can make breakout rooms for you if you want. I don't know how many people there are, so she can make a breakout room for you so you can all work together. Again, it'll be more fun doing it all together than independently, but it might also be easier independently, so up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, this is trying to use.
I was just thinking where I would, I just went straight to Wikipedia to have a look at their heading.
Yeah. I thought
Thinking,
maybe
what is
like,
text heavy?
I thought maybe news websites, but like I can't really find anything beyond page 2.
Right away. I used to have a fairly good accessibility site
Oh.
15 years ago. And that was still playing.
Yeah. Is that cheating? I don't know. Standard is there is not much other than other. Full of page.
Easier than the mouse.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
That's not. Too dramatic, huh? Ooh, that's too dramatic. That's too dramatic. It's not that. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left.
What?
We've got other challenges, other treasures to find.
Yeah.
I should say it. We've got 2 minutes left. So we've got other treasures to find as well. Oh my gosh, only 1 minute remaining. Okay, that's 12:30. Are we close? Do we have our entries, submissions? Ideas of things? Yeah.
We have 1 submission.
Okay, cool. Okay. Sorry?
How do we submit them?
Yeah, just say it and then I'll on my screen I'll show it and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So before we dive in, we should talk about headings and why they're important because this is Global Accessibility Awareness Day. So the reason why, or does somebody else in the room want to explain why headings are important?
It's good for screen readers.
Here, 1 second. Let me give you this one.
Thanks. It's good for screen readers who are people who are using like screen readers on the web page, and they can find easily the headings and they can skip to different headings.
Yeah.
And having a logical heading helps them to guide through the whole web page easily.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
I think a full heading, particularly if we're looking at people who are blind or low vision and other people who have to touch and tactile, if the heading's structured well, and they also have the supports behind it so that the equipment and resources can work, then that is a good heading,
Yeah.
not just a visual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the important part is many of us are used to the visuals of what a heading looks like, but we want to make sure that programmatically it's also there so that people who are using assistive technology can benefit from the heading structure, just like sighted people benefit from it. Okay, so let's do we need to be like conscious of time. So who wants to submit their first entry? Yeah.
It's my own website, archives.co.nz.
Archives.co.nz.
One H1, H2, and H3.
Okay, here, I'll give you this so that you can talk into it. People online in here. So maybe we'll take one from the room and one from online.
Yep.
Okay, so that's not archives.
Yeah.
Archives.
Okay.
Archives NZ. I'll just go. Okay.
So it has, I've just checked on the Wave tool.
Yep.
It has one H1, some H2s, and heading level 3s.
Mhm.
And because I worked on it, I'm pretty sure that they are in the correct order.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can challenge me if it's not.
Yeah, cool. So Ashwini was mentioning Wave. That's one of the scanners that you can use. I actually don't have it downloaded, so I can't demo it,
Yeah.
but I'll show you other ones
Yeah.
that tools that I have. So I use Web Developer Extension. So it's an extension that I have downloaded, and there's a whole bunch of different things. So it looks like a gear in the browser where your extensions are, called Web Developer Extensions, which is super generic. But if we go to the Information tab and then View Document Outline, so this one is a really good like visual indicator. I'm a really visual person, so it really helps me understand the page. I also find it's a really good, if you're talking to other people and trying to convince them about accessibility and explain to them why your website is or isn't accessible, having a visual aid like this one can be really useful because it's really clear right away for sighted people what exactly the structure is. So when I go to the Web Developer Extension and then View Document Outline, I can see a visual representation of all of the headings. So we see Archives homepage as the H1, which is appropriate because that's what the homepage is about. And then we have a bunch of H2s and H3s. And what's good here is that we're not skipping any headings. It's also when we look at the heading. So we're not skipping any headings. There's also no like sentences that are headings. I don't see any like long run-on sentences. It's a little bit difficult to scan just because there's like the Maori comes first. So like just as an English speaker. But that being said, it's really good that the Maori and the English are part of the same heading. So you're not getting like multiple headings. Yeah, and if we scan through it, there's a homepage and then it's find out, help you research finding a record. Like it all like is logical, and by looking at this page structure, I can make sense of what this page is about. And then it also reflects the visuals of this page as well. So we have here like Archives homepage, and then find out about is the visual heading, which makes sense. And then we've got like look for a record, popular topic. So the structure, the programmatic structure reflects the visual, and the visual reflects the structure, which is great. Another tool that I might also use is Accessibility Insights for Web. This is on Chrome, and you can highlight the headings, and then it highlights the headings on the page for me, which can also be handy to just identify where they are. Sorry? This one is called Accessibility Insights for Web. Again, it's an extension, and it's specific to Chrome. It only works on Chrome. And yeah, it just highlights the headings on the page, which again can be a useful thing to like take a screen grab if you want to like show to people.
That wouldn't be
Cool.
Yeah, they have something that's good screen grab when you put it to an alternative format.
There's a good screen grab.
I think that's good when you've got a good screen grab in the program that you're running, because when people are swapping from different formats or even Android to
Yeah. Yeah. So the comment just for people online was it's good to have like a good screen grab so that, yeah, you have consistency regardless of what device people are using. Yeah. Cool. That's a great example. Yeah.
Oh, no, I hate this.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Oh, wait, do you want
There are two examples.
two examples?
One is education.government.
Okay.
So that's the public sector one again.
Yeah.
And another one is the private sector one.
Let's
It's
do private.
Employment Hero.
Which one?
Employment Hero.
Employment Hero.
Yeah, so that's the private sector one.
So that's a good private sector. Any thoughts or questions about the headings so far? Okay. So we'll have a quick look at Employment Hero. So we're just going to do again. So again, like the importance of the visuals, right? So or like the visual mapping to the programmatic. So when I am looking at it visually, I scan the page pretty quickly to look for those headings to get a sense of where I am and what's going on. So let's look at that document outline. Okay, so we'll just skip the sometimes it shows like ones that are visually hidden, so don't worry about that. So we have leap into the future of work. We built the world's first OS, do it all in just one place. So compliant, not complex. Let's see what these headings are. So leap into the future of work, that's the H1. So it's funny because sometimes we have the largest text on, especially a homepage, it's that banner, it's that slogan, but it's not necessarily descriptive of what the page is. This page isn't about leaping into the future of work. It's the homepage. So archives, oh, I just closed it, might have like a visually hidden heading, but there's the one that's programmatically there. So is the H1 descriptive? You know, yes, no. Oh no. We built the world's first employment OS so it's big, but like it's just a slogan. Like does it describe this wide opens a modal? Like is it like titling a section, right? Like what is this section about? I guess employment OS, but there's no description after that. So arguably this can just be a P tag or a span, right? Because it doesn't really describe, we built the world's first employment OS, and then I would expect.
I think they're giving a historical, then they want to go actually into the sections of the page. That's just like a landing page.
Yeah, but so the comment was it's just a landing page, but the landing page still needs to have a sound heading structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, employment OS, and then is the heading for like basically this is the heading, and then immediately following there's like next level headings. Like I don't know. What do you think? What do other people think? I'm just like, I don't know.
I'm going to jump in from online.
Oh, wait, let me give you this.
Sorry. One of the things I noticed on our website is that we have heading structure properly coded, but some of them are not visually different. I mean, that's something we need to fix in the future. But here also I see that the headings visually they're quite different in sizes. So does that matter or?
No, visually it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's visual is all kind of flair.
Yeah.
So I know we're running out of time, but
Oh yeah.
my view on this one is because this is an interesting use case, right? Because like for the archives and government website, the homepage is totally utilitarian. It's not trying to advertise anything, not trying to sell anything. Where in the private sector one, most of the time the homepage is to try to sell the product. So even though we read this and go, right, okay, so does it explain what Employment Hero is? It might not, but if I go back to read the marketing blurb of heading 1, 2, 3, 4 in the, sorry, if you go back to the inspector view, Maya, then it's like, okay, cool. So leap to the future. We built the world's first employment. So at least it says it's leap into the future. That's totally marketing jargon. It doesn't tell me anything. But the next line of we built the world's first employment OS. Okay, that's arguably a heading, might be the right place, but it is, that means something. It still sells a product. It still explains what the product is.
Yeah.
And then do it on one place. That's okay, cool. It's still blurbing, but at least it still say, okay, so everything's in one place. No compliance. So some of these shouldn't be headings, but some of these are legitimately heading for a marketing page.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I see an issue though of like if we look at it visually, We built the world's first employment OS, which is a tagline, is a heading, who knows? But visually, these ones below it, I would think that the following headings are subheadings of this one, right?
They're not.
But they're not. They're actually, if we look at it programmatically, when we built the world's first OS, and then the following headings after that, they're all the same heading structure. So they're actually like siblings and equivalent. So they're not subsections, right? So even if we agreed that we built the world's first employment OS is a heading, the structure itself is not reflective of the page logic, because the following ones, like then that line literally doesn't title any sort of section, you know? Yeah, so solid effort, but I don't know. And then downsize your text, scale up your team. I don't know. Like then it means that big things come in small packages. Oh yeah, okay, that's kind of a headache. Okay, anyway. Yeah.
From online.
That before H1, there's a whole bunch of H4s, which like H1 is supposed to be the most important, the first top thing. Why are other headings before
Oh,
that?
there is those. I ignored those, but yeah, totally. You want the H1 to be the first because that's, yeah, what the page is about, right? It's kind of like a newspaper. It's the article, right? Title. So we're going to give that one. We're going to move on, but we're going to give that one to our team in the room for archives. Yay! So we got treasures, which are stickers. We got stickers. So you got to pick your stickers.
Oh, wow.
Perfect.
She's an artist.
Perfect. Open this for you. And FYI, some of the stickers are textured as well, so full sensory experiences. Okay, so while they pick their stickers, let's move on to the next challenge. So challenge number 2 are the best navigation. We're going to find a page where all interactive elements can be reached via keyboard. And you get bonus points for the most complex one. So like if there's like, yeah, a weird navigation kind of thing, but it all still has to be keyboard accessible. And then we also give bonus points if you find good visual focus as well, but not everybody can find that. So yeah. Make sense? Yeah, no? That looks confused. Yes? Okay. So the time is 43. So we'll do till 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Oh, and then I'll put your music on. Is anybody in a rush to leave? Like at 1? Okay. Yeah, because we might go over.
Yeah.
All right. And if people online have to leave, then you can leave.
I was thinking like trade meetings. So trying out myself. Just then we ran out of time to look at all the suggestions. Oh, yeah. This website and
We still have a minute if you want to keep going. We don't need a commercial. This is pirate music. This is what I was hoping for. Are we done in the room?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're done in the room. Are we done online? Okay, we'll call it, even though we're probably like 30 seconds, so it's fine. Okay, Pray, why don't we start with online, our online submissions?
Yes, it is Black Sheep Creative. Yep. All one word, blacksheepcreative.co.nz.
Blacksheepcreative.co.nz. Okay, so before we dive into it, why is keyboard accessibility important? Somebody new, somebody else. Anybody? Anybody online? Why is keyboard accessibility important?
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
typing.
Yeah, good.
You in the room can
Just
hear.
say things out loud for people online. Don't make me do all the talking. I'm sure you're sick of my
Can
voice.
you hear us, Maya?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think keyboard accessibility is really important for all kinds of disabilities, like not just permanent disabilities, but if you think about our situational disabilities that occurs every day, to not be able to use the mouse to do your very tiny tasks while you're on the keyboard all day, I think that's the basic that I can think about. Like press tab, 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 and then get your work done online. That's something that I use every day. I don't like to depend on using my mouse, and I can only imagine how much a person using an assistive tech that is the replacement for a mouse to need that.
Also useful for people having motor sleep issues that can't affect the mouse.
Mm.
Oh, sorry. So it's also useful for people who have motor skills issues, so they can just use the keyboard instead of a mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Cool. So yeah, so keyboard accessibility is probably, when I'm doing audits and training and stuff, it's probably the thing that I recommend, like the number one thing that I recommend if people are trying to make improvements of their website is, or they're trying to test their website, I say number one, check keyboard accessibility, because like was said, it impacts everybody. It's also the kind of thing that can be like a critical barrier, like the thing that stops people from being able to do something. Because, for example, if you're not able to fill in a form, or you can't like reach the submit button with your keyboard, then people who are using their keyboard only like literally cannot submit the form. So the whole page becomes null and void and useless, right? Yeah, so super important.
The example that I've seen before is there's one of GitHub's like disabled advocates. He had videos on how like he has cerebral palsy, and so he uses software and he can't really move his hands and stuff, and he was just like basically moving along, and all those tools rely upon you having combination of focus state to show you where his head is pointing things to and where it's selecting, and those are keyboard accessibility, because if neither of those visual features enabled, as well as like the right tab order, he could not have navigated those pages.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And keyboard accessibility like allows for other assistive tech as well. So like joysticks and like screen readers use like a standard keyboard with like more shortcuts and stuff. So yeah, so it just like opens the world to like everybody kind of thing. Okay, so we've got our entry for Black Sheep Creative. So I'm going to use a bookmarklet, which is kind of like, it's a piece of JavaScript that forces a focus. That's just to make sure for us visually, we can follow along and make sure that we can like see everything. So I'm just going to use that, and then it's going to place an orange outline around everything. So so we've got a nav and a few other elements. So part of a nav, we've got a mega menu. So a really important thing is to be able to make sure that we can expand that mega menu, which we can. I'm pressing enter and we can expand and collapse it, which that's really important. I've seen many nav that only expands on hover, which again, if you're only using keyboard, hover isn't a thing that you do. So yeah, what we're not getting into for keyboard accessibility is the names of it. We're just going to stick to just for like the sake of time and like expediency. But what's also important is like the name of these. So for example, in this nav, we have our services and then we have a chevron pointing down. So we would want to communicate to a screen reader user that this is our services, but that it's also a button that expands, right? So we want to make sure that the name of this button is like clearly explained for somebody who's using a keyboard and a screen reader. So that would be part of it. So yeah, so we've got our nav, so far so good. We jump into our page. All of these portfolios. So again, I have this orange outline so you can see. So there's a bunch of portfolio sections. Now I'm curious, there was no carousel. Okay, so that's fine. All the buttons, we've got some inline links and they're all keyboard accessible. Oh, we had to jump. Okay, so in terms of keyboard accessibility, we only need to make things keyboard accessible if it's an interactive element. So if you can click on it. If you can't click on it, then you don't need to worry about keyboard accessibility. For example, screen reader users, they have a lot of shortcuts that they can use. So they're not just tabbing, they're also using arrow keys. So if it's just plain text, you don't have to make the plain text interactive because there's ways to access it. So we don't have to worry about that, like a whole section that was just plain text. And yeah, so we got more inline links and buttons. We have a tile here and these tiles are keyboard accessible. Amazing. We've got a form and the form we can access through with tabbing through, and then we can, I'm not going to hit enter. Well, I guess I'll hit enter, but yeah, so I can submit the form with the enter button. Yes, everything here. Let's see the chat bot. There's a chat bot in the very corner, and we can also see that this is also accessible as well. That's pretty cool. You like that? So that's pretty good. Nice. Good entry. Yay. Good job. Person online. Yay. Nice. Do we have in the room one that we want to look at? Any thoughts as well?
You looked at there's a mic next to you, so in front of you in the box. Yeah. Let's not actually put mic in the class.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. So we had a look at the Amazon website.
Okay.
But while you're looking at that website currently, you mentioned carousel, and there was a bunch of carousels. So what are you actually looking for in there?
So talking about this carousel?
Yeah, maybe. If you just go to Amazon.com.
Oh, okay. Carousels suck is the point. So Amazon is the short version.
Yeah, that's what I do there. I kind of tap through them, and you're not going anywhere.
So we're doing .com, right? Does it matter, or?
I think it doesn't matter.
Oh, so this carousel here. Okay. So we're on amazon.com.au. That's where it took us. And so on the page, I have it here. It's just on my thing. It kind of pulls down and then you can, so decency. So on the page, maybe if I click it through both layers, it'll be fine. No, okay, it's fine. So there's the main nav, and then basically where the hero banner is, instead of it being a banner, it's a carousel. So there's so many problems with a carousel. The short version is like, don't do it. Like one of the problems with this is that it's automatically moving, for example. So, and many people will find it distracting, particularly people who might be ADHD or have cognitive or learning disabilities, can find automatically moving content really like distracting. And there's no mechanism to pause it. I mean, it was moving automatically at first, now it's stopped, I don't know. So yeah, so that's one of the issues. The other kind of issue that, and I think that's what you're hinting at, is when it comes to a carousel, so it's a very visual tool, but we want to make sure that everybody can access what is displayed in the carousel, right? So we have on this Amazon.com, for example, so they're advertising their Amazon Prime. So they have text that says try for 30 days and then some images as well. So how, as a keyboard only or a screen reader only specifically, as a screen reader user, how am I supposed to get in the information that's displayed in the slide essentially, right? So it needs to be marked up in an order that makes sense, so that when I'm tabbing through and I'm navigating through the page, I understand that I'm in a carousel, and then how the functionality of the carousel works. So making sure that things are keyboard accessible. So the arrows, so there's chevrons on this carousel here on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, meaning to move the carousel. So we want to make sure that those chevrons are keyboard accessible. We also want to make sure that those chevrons have accessible names. So it doesn't just called chevron, but it says next slide, or so it says next slide. When we do go to the next slide, we want to know like which slide we're on. So usually it's best if it says like slide 3 of 5. So that's really helpful. Just like visually, we might have those dots below and it shows you where you are in that carousel. We want to provide that information programmatically as well. And then it's accessing the content within the carousel. So if we have the content of the carousel, if it's like an image of text, that's really inaccessible. And just, making sure that like a person that's using a keyboard can get into it in a logical way, understand what's there, then get out of it in order to change the slide, know that the slide was changed so that they go back into it and get the content in it and go back out, like that whole kind of thing, right? So it's a complex widget in and of itself. Visually, it's complex. Programmatically, it's complex. Keyboard navigation-wise, it's complex. And also, it just usually sucks. Like from a marketing perspective as well. Like it doesn't, like it's usually marketing people who want it there. And like studies show that it does not work, that people don't like carousels. People don't go through carousels. And especially the automatically moving ones, people do not like. There's a lot of I think that was like a very long answer to your carousel question. I don't know if that was what you anticipated, but apparently I have a lot to say about it. Does that answer what you're talking about? Yeah, okay. Oh, sorry, we didn't even go through the Amazon page. But we can give it to the online person because why not, right? But the Amazon website is also like, as I'm tabbing through, it's keyboard accessible. I can get through everything. You can see that there's some chevrons on, so there's like lists of like lightning deals. And so the tiles are accessible, and there's chevrons that allow us to kind of scroll through the tiles. But because all of the tiles are keyboard accessible, like when you tab from one tile to the next, it kind of does that automatic scrolling. So the chevrons are like for mouse users, like and for sighted users, we actually like the keyboard does the functionality. So it's actually okay that you can't actually access those chevrons via keyboard, but it's because they're not necessary, right? And so this is a really good example of why it's really important to test with keyboard, right? And just have a play, have an understanding of what you're trying to achieve. So we'll give it to the person online. So online, we have, obviously we can't give you stickers, but we have like virtual stickers. We made little GIFs. Pray's gonna send a message with a URL, and you get a GIF with like some music and everything. So that's your version of a sticker. Okay. All right. Let's move on to challenge number 3. Thanks everybody for like sticking around, and also for your questions and for like listening to me blather on, and same with people online. And if anybody has to leave, like let us know. Okay, this is our third and last challenge, and actually we have the side quest. Okay, so who be that pirate? We're going to find a form where placeholder text is not used to communicate important information, or it's not used at all. So I'll say it again: a form where there may be placeholder text, or there's no placeholder text at all. So either a form where there's no placeholder text, or where there may be placeholder text, but it does not communicate important information. So it is 1, so we'll do 105 or 104 because we've been using like 4 minutes, and I'll put our pirate movies back on. And I hope the people online can hear too. but also say if it's annoying with the screen reader. You can be less When you're thinking of like important information on a form, think of like what's important, right? Like the labels. Knowing what the label is really important. That's kind of thinking about. It's 1:03, so we have like a minute. It's 1:04 now, but I can give you another minute. One more minute. People want one more minute. Oh.
I didn't think back. Okay. Forms without.
Oh, to find a form. Here, let me pass this down, and then Jay was saying it's hard to find a form without placeholder. I agree. We got one from online. So you can find one that doesn't necessarily use no placeholder, but where the important information about a form. So let's talk about that. So what is the important information of a form? What is this kind of question getting at? Use the, yeah, do you want to pull a thing out of the? There you go. Yeah.
So more important are labels for the forms, and having proper headings and subheadings if there are subsections.
Right. Okay. So why are those labels? Why is placeholder text not sufficient as a label?
Well, placeholder text could be an issue for people who are partially blind or who can't actually see that. The contrast is quite low.
Mhm.
Like they're always usually light gray color and it's not easy to read.
Yeah.
And it's not helpful. And sometimes when you click on in one of the fields, it disappears, which could be an issue for some people. They get confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially think of like a form where it's like first name, last name, email, phone.
Yeah.
And you're like filling it in. And before you fill it in, you're like looking back and making sure you got everything, but you don't know what the fields were asking you. So it was like, was it asking for my first name or my full name? And then like an error showed up, but I don't know if it's an error because I typed my email wrong or because I just put an email where like I wasn't supposed to or something.
Yeah.
So having that disappearing label is a real problem, right? And so when we are over relying on placeholders for that important information, yeah, and you made a great point about the color contrast. So yeah, if it's important information and a person can't see it, then like doesn't work. And then the last thing that I also wanted to highlight as well is like the programmatic, right? So visually we have labels, but you need to make sure that programmatically that label is also connected to that input field. So that when somebody uses a screen reader, for example, or another assistive tech, and they get to that field, they know what it's called, or they know how to call it, right? Like if they're using voice to text, they know how to like activate it. When we're using placeholder, I guess we can forget to do that programmatic label because it's not explicitly there. So when we're coding up or we're designing and stuff, we're not like, oh yeah, I need to make sure that I'm explicitly making that connection there. So it's kind of like it's a design choice that like sets us up to fail, to forget people. Right. So yeah, I can go on about placeholder text just like I did carousels. I hate placeholder text. There's also an issue when it comes to like people who have low computer literacy or cognitive disabilities. When you see placeholder text, you can be confused as to whether it's already filled in, right? Especially if you're like, okay, well, we'll improve the color contrast so that the person can actually see it. And now that we improved the color contrast, now it looks like I typed into it, even though I didn't. And then I submit the form and then I got an error. But I submit, like, why am I getting an error? It says that I left it blank, but it's not blank because anyway, so that's a thing. So yeah, not a fan of placeholder. Okay, so anyway, we got some submissions. Let's get back to you.
No submission. That's my own website again.
Okay, let's do the online one.
Yeah.
First, and then if there's other ones. So Prey, do you want to
it's a long link, so can you go to the chat?
I can't find the Zoom
Chat window,
like at
it's
all.
at the bottom right of your screen.
Oh right, that's why.
The
Okay.
talking Prey thing. Oh well, yeah, the view.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
You can cut down the chat. I wish you could just like.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay.
It's a long one, so I'm reluctant to get.
Okay, so we are on the website Timely, their help page. What are we looking at again? Oh yeah, placeholder text. Okay, so we've got a form here. And oh my gosh, there's no placeholder text at all on this form. So the form is made up of drop downs, which just have dashes when there's like nothing selected. And then yeah, it's a bit hard. Is it at least zoomed in? Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. But where like your email address is just left empty, right? I mean, there's color contrast issues because the outline is very faint. But at least we have no placeholder text at all. Because like, why do you need a sample email address? Like, you know, because if you're providing, this is me going on a tangent again. If you're providing, I was texting Steve, who couldn't make it today. He was like going to be our co-host. And I was just like, when I suggested this challenge, I was like, I'm on a little bit of a placeholder rampage. So that's why I suggest this this challenge. But yeah, but like if you're providing like for your email address, if you're saying here's an example of what an email address should look like, then that should just be permanently there, right? Like it's helpful information. Why would you put it in a placeholder text and it disappears as soon as I start writing? And then I'm like, wait, what was this supposed? It's particularly true for like date formats. Have you ever had like, okay, fill in your birthday, and then it's like, okay, well, do you want me to spell it out in full? Do you want me to put the numbers down? Is it numbers with slashes? Is it numbers with dashes? Is it none? Like what, you know? And so they put the format in the placeholder text, and then as soon as you start writing, the placeholder text disappears.
And one of the worst things is also is when they put up a count, and then they want you to go back. And you've got to go back month by month for 20 years or something. It's just ridiculous. You can't go to your actual birth year. And then work that.
Yeah, we're talking about date pickers, and that's a whole other thing. Yeah. And is there any I'm gonna put Lauren on the spot, any placeholder issues that are like particularly for you for as a screen reader user?
I think just when there's only placeholder text and no actual programmatic label, because sometimes they have both. And if it's just placeholder text, then you have the issue that you type into the field and then the placeholder text disappears and you want to go back and check everything. And so then the label of the field then becomes whatever you've typed in, and so then you have no like frame of reference as to what the content was supposed to be, because you were relying on the placeholder text for that. So it can be a little bit confusing. I have when I first encountered placeholder text, I remember thinking that the field was populated and trying to delete the
Okay.
placeholder text out of the field, and then and eventually realized that this is like part of the web page. This is like before I knew about coding and what placeholder text actually was. So yeah, for people who like aren't in the know, they might try and remove it because they think that the field's populated.
Great point. Nice. Cool. That was really interesting. I didn't prep any bad examples, but here on the timely as an example again, we're going to ignore the faint colors because that's some feedback. But so subject, right? And then so they explain, briefly state what your inquiry relates to. And so instead of putting that in the placeholder text, they put it as text next to the input field, so that even as I type in my subject, I can still have that hint there, so that the hint is always there. Cool. Do we have any other entries that we want to submit for forms? Yeah. Oh, we want to look at archives.
Yeah, so we have a government owned form. But we have this placeholder issue still with the main search, which we haven't addressed yet.
Okay.
But we have addressed the forms which are quite used by the government agencies. It's under manage information. If you click on that arrow, you'll go to government loans on the right, second right, and go down. There are 2 forms there that links. Yeah, one of those forms.
Okay, cool. Here, I'll put the link that we're going to be referring to.
Yeah, so
okay, cool.
here.
Can people online hear Ashwini? Is it picking up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Not really. Only just.
Not really, like not enough. Okay.
Okay.
So we got rid of most of the placeholders. Only the one which we have left is that GOV 1234. There was quite a big discussion about whether we should leave that or not. So
just for reference, that's for under client number.
Yes, the client number. There's a whole lot of information behind that particular, So that's the reason we left it based on the business, feedback. But something that we might address it later. But otherwise, we have got rid of all the placeholders, and we also got rid of the asterisks. Like there are some required fields, and the asterisk was not visible.
Yeah.
So we replaced it with the actual word required.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. And this is a good example of when we get rid of the placeholder text and then I start putting in other text.
Yeah, that's something which we need to prioritize later to get rid of that.
Yeah, fair. No, but it's great that it's on your radar.
That's the reason for that was like we moved from an old database which was called Archway to collections, and to stop that all confusion about that client number, and that's the reason we kept that only one thing. Yeah, I mean, and like,
it's a process, right? And it's part of it. Yeah. Cool. So why we can give awards to both. No? Yeah.
The online person. That's okay.
Okay. So yeah, the person online can give to them. Okay. All right, that was our last challenge, explicit challenge. So we just had the side quest with alt text. Did anybody, I'm just like also conscious of time as well. So I don't know if we want to, but why don't we just talk about alt text and why it's important instead of like diving into it. So who wants to grab the mic and tell us, not Ashwini, why alt text is important? Why do you think it's important? Is it not important?
Where image isn't visually perceived by the person, the screen reader can explain what that image is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so when it comes to, that's like a really nice, concise way of explaining it, basically, right? And when it comes to images, when they communicate information, we want to make sure that information is communicated. So sometimes that means explaining the visual of it. So, this is a parrot with whatever colors, like a red parrot with a white, yellow and blue wing, whatever, in a cartoon, blah, blah. Or if this was a button, then you would want the alt text to explain the function of the button. So a lot of times, where was the search, for example? Like we have up, I'm on the archives website, but just if any search. So we have a search bar and an icon, and let's say that icon was a button that you clicked on, right? So to use the alt text to say a magnifying glass, it's technically accurate to describing the visual, but actually, because it's an interactive image, it's better to describe the function of that interaction, which in that case would be submitting the search. So you'd want the alt text on that to be search or submit search. Yeah. I don't have any rampages about alt text. So. Yeah. Okay.
One thing.
Yeah.
It's also important when the images don't load. There's some
Yeah,
places
good
where
point.
the internet network is not fast, it's slow, and the images don't load, then the alt text gives
Yeah.
the extra reference. Yeah.
Yeah, great point. Yeah.
Reminder, when you're speaking, please plug it back in so that the sound is not going into the mic. But yeah, so I do have a mini one.
Oh, please. Okay, good.
Not
Nice.
quite a rampage, but it's like, so like there are now instances where there's two scenarios, right? Scenario one is people are trying to be helpful. They're learning about accessibility for the first time. They're like, oh, I should put text on all alt text. And then here's like, you start getting description of a flower pot, like a green flower pot in the middle. But the thing is, like, that's just a random image that shows up. It doesn't add any meaning to the text around it at all, or attempt to describe all sorts, right? Or some programs actually, when you upload an image, like some CMSs do that, where it just use the file name as the alt text. And so you get like untitled or final 2, 4, 6, 7. And I'm like, this is useless. This is almost worse to keep it that way. My last bit of it is that so those are scenario one, right? Human error and the system error. And then the scenario, the another category of now that we have AI generated reading images, they're like, okay, we're helpful here. And then some of the AI generated AI generated image description, they are useful if this is like a photography website, or National Geographic, like explaining the beauty of the world and the scene of the movie. But if I'm looking for like, I don't know, like a product utility, do I want this like a beautiful bottle sitting in front of on a seat and a beautiful woman drinking it? I don't care about those things.
Yeah.
I just want to know that, oh, this is a picture of the product. It's green. Like, and that's where human judgment is still required to work out how detailed that information should be. So that's my rampage.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
could you have it, again, for accessibility, could you have it where you actually push something and brings the alt text up for somebody who is wanting the alternative text because they're blind, low vision, or they need speech to text?
Yeah, so when it comes to like if you're using a screen reader, for example, it'll automatically read the alt text for you because that's what the image is text. I'm just going into my tools that I was showing before. So I'm going into web developer extension, and one of the options under images is display alt attributes. So I can see all of just like in one glance, it'll highlight all of the alt text. So this is really useful, like as an auditor, for example, it's really useful, but it could also be useful if you're a content creator to see all of the things, or if you're trying to, again, give feedback higher up, whatever your role is. If you're a dev, you're a tester, and you want to check that all the alt text on this page is sound. So you can pull up the alt text, like you could use this tool, for example. So yeah, and it'll highlight all those alt text for you. Yeah. I'm sure there's other tools as well. This is just a tool that I like to use. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
So I just looked at the trade.
So I'm just on the TradeMe homepage and I was looking at some of their alt text, and then they have a lot of where it's just image one of one over and over again, carousels and just on product tiles and stuff. Is that like arguably better alt text to say how many images are in that row or within that module than of like what's actually in the image? So you know how many images you're skipping through?
Wait, say it again. What's the question?
Where instead of like describing the contents of the image, it's saying just image one of one.
If that's a good alt. Well, so the question back to you is, what is the purpose of the image? If like to say image one of one, like what is that describing the purpose of that image?
I guess it's like in this case.
Well, for some reason mine looks different. Where are you under recommended?
Recommended.
So on the homepage, right?
Yeah, and then in just any of these things here, any of these tiles. But I've disabled the images, and then I went to show the alt attribute.
Disable image.
Or maybe replace images with alt attributes in that third column.
Awesome. Okay. So we're just on the TradeMe homepage and we just use the tool to replace the images. Okay, cool. So that's a really cool, we've swapped out all the images to just show the alt text. So when it comes to like CMSs and like portfolios and just like user uploaded content, it's tricky because all of the images are uploaded by individuals. So it's up to those individuals to provide alt text. It's the same true with like social media, right? Like when you're posting on social media, that's your picture that you're posting. So the alt text on that image is ultimately up to you. Now everybody in this room knows about alt text. So we know that everybody in this room is writing alt text on their images. But people who are posting on TradeMe, like, you know, their house or whatever, like they're selling things, they're not necessarily writing the alt text on the images. So ultimately what it means is that like if you were trying to buy something on TradeMe and you wanted like, you can look for the item, but you wanted like different views of the item, or like I'm looking for a jacket, right? But like I want to know if it's a green jacket or if it's a blue jacket, or I don't know, like with the style and stuff like that. If it's not in the alt text, then I need it to be described somewhere. Otherwise, I have no idea that you're saying it's a jacket, it's size medium. Then like I don't know what it looks like. So yeah, so it's tricky when it comes to user uploaded content. But basically, image one of one like doesn't tell you anything. It's like one of one. Like, okay, cool.
Can we not make that field required when the user is uploading the product?
Yeah, so can you make it required? That's one strategy. It's easier to do that when it's like an internal organization and their CMS, because then you can train people on like, okay, so this is a required field. This is what it means. This is why. This is how to fill it in. So you can do that training there. TradeMe, it's trickier. Like you can make it required, but you might end up having people say jacket, which maybe that's better than image one of one, like, you know, arguably. But yeah, it is tricky. Yeah.
So it was image 1 out of 10 though. There were 10 images that you would, all of the information in the images would be in the product description that you created. Would it be a better argument for having the image 1 of 2, 1 of 3, or image 2 out of 3, so you can know how many have been uploaded to that?
Yeah, I mean, thanks. Like if the image description is elsewhere, then you're getting the description elsewhere, then that's sufficient. Then in fact you can do a null alt text, then you don't even need the image alt text there. Correct me if I'm wrong, like online, particularly I'm thinking of Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'll jump in a sec.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're describing the image elsewhere, then the alt text is like it exists. It's just not necessarily in the alt. So that would be like a good way to do it. Yeah. Does that answer what you're thinking about? Yeah.
Lauren's about to say something.
Okay. Yeah, go for it, Lauren.
I was just going to say, Yeah, like with screen readers, we can navigate through the page by image if we want to. Like there's a keyboard shortcut that will just take you to all of the images. And so sometimes having like extra information about how many there are is depending on like the context, I think, but potentially kind of overload of information. I also wanted to comment on whether you choose to mark images as decorative or not. And I am now kind of moving more towards having most, if not all, images with alt text, because as sighted users, you get to choose what images you look at and what images you skip. And I want that same choice when I'm looking through a page. And because sometimes, like say for example, I might be like on a clothing website and there's some alt text of the clothes, but they think, oh, we'll hide the image of the clothing from screen readers because the heading describes like the item of clothing or whatever. But maybe the description isn't very good, and so I want to find the image so that I can share it with AI and have the AI describe the jacket or whatever, so I can get like more details. But if the images are hidden, then I can't find them to do that.
And the other thing is, I was thinking of, as we get into the AI, do you think more developers will start having AI actually describe the images?
I'm seeing it more, and you can kind of
automatically
tell when
goes down for
AI.
people who are not used to things like Trade Me, for instance, they will put an alternate text in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like AI is definitely useful in establishing, like providing at least a baseline of alt text. It needs human verification, right? Because like Prey was saying, you get a paragraph for something, but like maybe that's better than nothing. Maybe. And as AI gets better, maybe it'll be better. But again, images are so context dependent. So we don't want people to be lazy. And realistically, alt text needs to come in before the dev stage, because I can tell you as a dev, like my background is as a dev, we do not look at content, like we do not pay attention at all. So we will upload whatever and it'll say whatever it is, like the hell, we are not reading it. So who's the best person to come up with alt text? It's the content creators, it's the designers, it's the BAs, product people who are earlier, who actually care about what the content is, because we don't care. Cool. Yeah.
I wanted to point out that user guides are example of when images are referred in the description, like this button in this menu on the top right. So you'll find this in like, how to use this product, and usually it's screenshot, and then you try to navigate through it. This is when like you must put an alt text in here, because otherwise, how am I going to know what this picture that's supposed to show me where I'm going is? Because so always important. And a note that AI is unable to generate alt text for mockups right now. It always say computer screen. I don't know which one you're using, Ramya. But if Lauren's been using another AI tool that actually knows how to read out mockups, I would love to hear about it too.
But again, I think it comes to the context of like a mock-up, then it's like, what's the important parts of the mock-up, right? Like if it's a mock-up, like it might have the nav that's on the thing, but that's actually not the significant part, because the nav is a repeated block of content that's not the whole point of the mockup. The point of the mockup is like a specific component on the page. So you need an alt text that describes the thing that actually is supposed to be communicated in that mockup, right? So just because I don't have a rampage about alt text, it doesn't mean that there's not a lot to say about it. I'm just not as angry about it. Okay, cool. So that wraps us up. If people want stickers, you can take stickers as well. Like we've got stickers on the desk, you can take the whole thing, but take like individual ones. So please take stickers for participation. You deserve it. And we have, I'll just do full screen on this one. So just some housekeeping. We are currently on the Meetup platform, but it is hella expensive. So we're going to get off of that platform, and we're going to start using Humanitix. So there's a QR code, whatever, and there's a URL. So I'll just share the URL. We'll share the URL. And if you want to join the mailing list, and then that way you'll get notifications. We'll send an email. I'll close this and you can, here you go. So pasted the link in the chat. Let me know if you need me to read it out. There's also a QR code. You can take a photo. Join our mailing list. You'll find out about events. We do them online as well. So you can do join us from Queenstown. That'd be awesome. Yeah, we don't have any scheduled yet, but we'll get to it. If you have any topics that you want or any formats that you want us to do, we're happy to hear it. We want to make this a community thing for everybody. So whatever works for you. Otherwise, yeah, thanks so much for coming. Hopefully you found that fun. Hopefully that you found that interesting. Happy Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Go forth and spread the joy and awareness and knowledge that you know and have gained today. Yeah, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks. And thanks online. That's where the camera is.